Good morning.
Good morning.
Rise and shine.
Oh, yes.
This is Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And of course, we are on Channel 500 on Starset. Gali ina ke palesa ke muchuminyane ke sebolai ke dikokomane tsa ga sebolai ke di roba tlhakula tsa ga mmasedi amphela tse di reng di a roba di a sailing umkhonto duma njengetulu umnyango ovalo vala ngamakhanza amatsotsa sengifikile nina baka mahlasela.
Hi. Ngiyakutshela wena. Sekushoda ukuthi ngithi yilili. Ngesingakithi
sesifikile sisanda sesifikile sigalelekile.
Asigalelekile sithelekile. Are you okay, girl, baby?
I'm good. I'm blessed going in and of course I'm blessed going out.
Great stuff. It is indeed a very good morning and a warm welcome to Galaxy Universal Network, Channel 500 on Starset. Igama lami ke ngingusisanda unomusa kwaqwabe khutho intombazane yaphansi kwamhlabe yalingana. Umfule ngiphuza gelegele kanti inkomo zakithi ngashiya zidla phansi emahlathini asekubandeni kanti ke zona ziphuze ebhodlweni umfulo ohamba ngeslow motion kwesikwaziba isigodi kula ngibuya khona ke ngathwala umthalo ke ngafaka amabombe ngafaka ubhokweni ngawabhekisa egoli kwandonga ziyaduma kwanyuma kayipheli kuphela amazinga endoda ilapho ke we are broadcasting live in the Republic of South Africa. Sigalelekile, as Palisa have said, Satelega, and we thank you for allowing us to be in your homes and allowing us in your bedrooms, in your kitchens, in your bathrooms, and in your garages. And of course, to those that are watching us through our social media platforms, and we say thank you for spending this beautiful Thursday morning with us. It is the 26th of August. It has just gone just after 6 o'clock in the morning. Without taking much of your time, let us give you the news headlines. The Public Protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, start processes of issuing subpoenas for alleged COVID-19 tender corruption. And Kosatu warns government not to use public funds, pension funds for investment. And also Bantu Wolomisa grants for blatant demand to be suspended. And members of ESCOM board leave a bitter taste as they cancel a SCOPA meeting via text messaging. And the youth in Libya take to the streets to protest for better living conditions. And these are the stories that we are going to be giving you this morning. The Public Protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, made public that decision to start the process of issuing subpoenas for alleged tender irregularities and irregular procurement processes related to issuing of the PPEs during the COVID-19 lockdown. Mkhwebane is investigating several complaints at the provincial government departments relating to this matter. According to Mkhwebane, investigators from her office were met with the resistance by public officials who refused to cooperate. It is alleged that officials in question say that they have already given answers to the Special Investigating Unit, which also investigating COVID-19 related corruption. The Office of the Public Protector has a different function from that of the SIU and has the power to investigate any allegations or whatsoever or suspicion of improper conduct in the state affairs. It is reported that the resistance from the officials have led to the decision to fast-track the investigations by the Public Protector. Moving on to other stories, the ESCOM failed to honor its meeting with the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, in short, which was also aimed at, amongst other things, to brief SCOPA on the outstanding matters related to the investigations into the Chief Operating Officer, Jan Obelhozer. It is reported that the meeting has been postponed on the last hour via a text message. ESCOM Group CEO Andre de Ruyter and the large management delegation, including Obelhozer, were present in the virtual meeting, but it was decided that it could not go ahead without the entire board being present. Peggy Hadebe and the ANC Member of Parliament said that for the board to excuse itself by text message at the last minute was completely unacceptable. And board member Pulane Molokwane told the meeting that she and other board members had joined the meeting late after being given an incorrect link. She also claimed that their presence had no influence or effect on the committee. They wanted the entire board to be present. The Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association revealed that it reached a settlement with the government after a long battle to get government to review lockdown regulations which prohibited the sale of cigarettes from the first day of the national lockdown and was lifted 5 months later. When the country moved to level 2 of the national state of disaster lockdown, FITA legally challenged the tobacco ban, but the matter was dismissed in the High Court. The matter was then taken to the Supreme Court of Appeal, where it was granted leave to appeal. It is alleged that the government has agreed to embark on a public participation process should the temporary prohibition of tobacco sales ever be implemented again. Have a look. Now we are going to get into those visuals a little bit later, moving on with our stories. The United Democratic Movement has called on President Ramaphosa to suspend with immediate effect the Minister of Higher Education, Blade Nzimande. UDM leader Bantu Olomisa said that he received a number of documents from unknown sources which exposes what appears to be direct interference of the political head of Department of Higher Education and Training and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Blade Nzimande. In a departmental processes and administration, as well as the active sidelining and undermining of the senior department accounting officials, Holomisa added that he was speaking on behalf of the party. Have a look.
The South Africans knows that they have been betting on a wicket of anti-corruption for many, many years. And I hardly lose any case because before I open my mouth, because the information I've handed to the president yesterday is gonna be difficult for him to distance himself from it because he is interfering in the department, bypassing the accounting officers, and is working with one director at the lowest level. A director he always travel with to other departments if he is transferred to that department or appointed to that department. So the documents are with the president. The paper trail is there. Personally, I am not doing any business with government. I don't know what is he talking about, including his department.
You know, Palisa, the issue with this, starting with ESCOM, they decided that they are not going to come, of course, to the meeting and just sending a text message. And it's quite very disturbing to see that these are the taxpayers' monies that, of course, are being wasted. And they will not say, oh, no, we were busy with something else. And now they're, of course, claiming that, oh, the reason why they couldn't attend to the meeting, it was over the fact that they got the link wrong or late. These are board members. Why would you get a wrong link? Because these people have got people that are working for them to organize those things and sending them the correct links and everything else. I think they're just playing tricks.
I think they're just making excuses, and especially, you know, for some of them to respond with text messages, not even putting it on email, unless if they are hiding something. You know what I mean? Then, yeah, it tells a lot, honestly. But
then, on the other hand, Holomisa says Nzimande must also be removed from his office because of it is believed that he's interfering directly to the processes of the higher education and training in terms of course, I'm sure it's a procurement of tenders and whatsoever. Most of these officials, of course, they claim not to be interfering, but somehow they find themselves in the mix of this whole drama, of course.
The chickens have come to roost, Sisanda. Now they are actually pinpointing each other and taking each other out, but all of them, they have their own skeletons in their own political way. And now all of a sudden now, you know, I could just see the headlines, Holomisa versus Nzimande. You know what I mean? Yeah, we are yet to see what unfolds in that story, but it is a very interesting story because at the end of the day, Holomisa claims, or rather, should I call it claims? I don't know, but then he claims that there's a whole lot more that Blade Nzimande is involved in terms of, you know, corruption and tenders and also interfering, you know, in the Department of Education.
Yes.
But what I also know is that Holomisa is actually serious, and Holomisa is saying that he put everything, that he gave to President Cyril Ramaphosa. And when Cyril Ramaphosa asked, what is it about Holomisa? Then Holomisa says, President, look at the statements and everything that I've put on the, on the table.
Yes.
You will get your answers from there. But he says that Nzimande is definitely aware of all these allegations, and he should respond to them. And now he's saying that President, fire.
Yes. My worry with Holomisa, he's got a tendency of doing a U-turn in the middle of nowhere. So probably they might ask him, okay, now, Holomisa, what are the effects? And then he's going to say, no, in fact, no.
But do you think he can backfire, when everything now is on the statement, affidavit is there, everything is there? Why would he backfire, after making such claims, allegations on paper, and,
It's possible for him to retreat on this one, because we know, Holomisa is that type of a guy that will, remember he came with a statement and say, we are sorry about the death of Zinzi Mandela, COVID, man. And they say, is it COVID? No, forget about that. That he's one of those. But moving on with the Nzimande story. Nzimande did respond to this, and let's take a listen to that conversation.
In place across the sector, and to ensure the continued safety of students and staff, while allowing for greater access to campus teaching and learning for more students. In terms of the criteria, the following categories of students will be able now to return under level 2. The first category of students who are now going to return as part of this 1/3, it's all groups that had been prioritized to return in level 3 but could not be accommodated due to the maximum campus carrying capacity having been reached. Shutha babesalele ekuqaleni kule ngxenye yesithathu yokuqala yibo manje abazobuyela, ngoba sasingekho isikhala esanele ukwenza isiqiniseko sokuthi akukho ukugcwala okuzodala ukuthi singakwazi ukulandela umgomo ukuthi abafundi nabafundisi bangasondelana eduze. The second group will be students in all years of study who require laboratory and technical equipment to complete the academic year. The third group will be students in all years of study who require practical placements, experiential learning, workplace-based learning to complete the academic year. Of course, provided the workplaces and platforms are open and prepared. And the next category that's going back this time is all first-year students in all undergraduate programs. So those are the groups of students who are now going to go back as the second 1/3. All other students will continue to be supported through remote multimodal teaching, learning, and assessment until they can return to campus. It is recognized that each institution will determine the implementation of these criteria in terms of their own academic programs and plans. Some have been asking then, what about the last 1/3? The last 1/3, as per our plans now, will return to universities when we move to level 1. So far then they will continue working remotely through the multimodal learning and teaching mechanisms that have been put in place by the universities. We have been doing everything possible to ensure that we support institutions to respond in the best possible way to the many challenges that have arisen during the pandemic. This has included the reprioritization of funds to support the COVID-19 response at our public universities. On risk assessment during this period, each institution has its own operational plan based on a risk assessment linked to its operating conditions, location, and context. What this means, amongst other things, is that the focus now must really be on institutions and on campuses. We call on all our stakeholders to focus at that level because that is where things are happening. Ngamanye amazwi, umsebenzi omningi manje usezikhungweni la kufundwa khona. La kufanele senze isiqiniseko ukuthi zonke izinto zokuphepha nezinto zokufunda zisesimweni esifanele. Institutions.
On the other hand, the minister has assured that no tender had been awarded for the devices handed to beneficiaries of NFSAS, saying that the process would start again and the law would be followed, with the results thereof being open for public scrutiny once it was concluded. Now, the UIF Commissioner, Tebogo Maruping, has announced that the Temporary Employee Relief Scheme, is short TERS, will resume with payments again. This is after the TERS funds were halted, citing fears and certain wrongdoings that exposed the institution to potential fraud. Maruping acknowledged the halting of funds may have been had a negative impact on millions of workers who relied on the COVID-19 TERS benefits for income. For the UIF has appealed to its contributors to bear with the organization, as the pause in payments were designed to make the fund stronger so that it can continue doing its work of providing sustenance to workers in their time of need. It's time for us to take a very short break. When we're coming back, we've got more news and updates for you right here on Galaxy Universal Network, channel 500.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
Welcome back again. If you have just joined us, we welcome you with the right here on Pan African Morning, channel 500 on Stasit. And we thank you for being with us this morning. You could have been somewhere else, but you chose to be with us. We really do appreciate that. And we assure you that this is going to continue being an informative morning for you. Now, moving on with our stories, COSATU has once again dashed the government's hopes of leaning on workers' retirement funds to invest in, among others, infrastructural development in the country. The Federation stood its ground during a briefing yesterday, saying that such an alternative will only be considered when the government puts an end to corruption. COSATU President Zingi Swalosi explains.
And what we get is what a commission that is going to be commissioned to find whether that commission is really capable of finding corruption. It's unnecessary processes. That is why we were saying President Ramaphosa's campaign was poetic one, you know. It's poetry, and then when you must govern, it is prose. All of a sudden now there are tedious processes that you must, tick the T's and dot the I's, and people are getting impatient. So we're saying, and also nothing stops the president from dealing with corruption, allegations of corruption in the state and in the ANC, because there's another conference resolution that says anyone that is implicated in any form of corruption or criminal act, you must internally in the organization step aside. Now, then you have a process in government that has to unfold. So why are we not using the tool to ensure that we have effective processes? So we're calling for that big X for those that are deemed to be corrupt. I mean, the case in point of...
Now, the General Secretary, Begin Chalinjali, said that pensions remain workers' preferred wages and should be invested in ways that benefit the workers and should not be used to deal with government policy failures. If the government wants to even consider its ideas and proposal, they will need to first seriously fight corruption. Chalinjali added that government had been slowly moving on the African National Congress's 2019 manifesto, which sought to investigate the introduction of prescribed assets, while Treasury has formally stated that while the prescribed assets will be introduced, retirement funds will not be forced to invest in failing state-owned enterprises, and that the infrastructure projects are largely perceived to be good investment opportunities for pension funds, with some already investing in government bonds. Now, moving on to Zimbabwe, Patterson Nzamara, who was a 34-year-old man who died on Wednesday, according to Nelson Chamisa, leader of the MDC Alliance opposition party leader. Chamisa said that he's devastated by the death of Nzamara, who was a member of the party's executive. Nzamara came into public spotlight when he became the leading voice of the search for his brother Itai, a journalist and activist who relentlessly challenged former President Robert Mugabe at the time when many Zimbabweans were afraid to confront the ruler who had toppled from power, or rather who was toppled from power back in 2017 and later died. He was adopted from a barber shop in 2015. The late man's brother is still missing. Nzamara famously walked up to Mugabe at an Independence Day event in 2016, holding a placard that said, "Independent, but not free. Where is my brother Itai?" Nzamara was whisked away by the Mugabe's security guard who allegedly assaulted him. Nzamara's death highlighted the challenges facing Zimbabwe's healthcare system. Nzamara did not have enough money to pay for urgently needed surgery at a private facility when he was diagnosed with cancer of colon. Such surgery was not possible in Zimbabwe's public health system, which is plagued by widespread shortages and frequent strikes by doctors and nurses. Have a look.
26 August 2020, and today I've got some very, very sad news. And this is to say Patterson Nzamara, the popular activist from Zimbabwe, has passed away overnight. So this was a sudden death. And according to my sources, Patterson Nzamara was walking when he went into Avenues Clinic, and many people are surprised what happened. They just received the message that he passed away, but no one is sure what happened. And apparently, he passed away before the operation. He had gone in for an operation for colon cancer, which was diagnosed during routine medical examinations. So last week I talked to some people who have knowledge about the situation, and they said that he had gone in for some checks and doctors found that he had colon cancer and it was supposed to be operated on, like urgently. So a group called Team Pachedu had started fundraising for Patterson Nzamara's operation, and they had reached an amount of about $10,000 US, if I'm not mistaken, out of the about 28,000 that they needed. And Patterson then was supposed to go urgently into operation, into theater, and that is what had happened yesterday. He went in for an operation at the Avenues Clinic. he was talking to people. He actually talked to people that I know, and they were also surprised to hear that he had died. So it's not clear what happened, and as soon as I get more information, I'm going to give you that information later on today. So as you know, Patson Zamara is the young brother of the missing journalist Itai Zamara, who went missing during Mugabe's days. He was the first person in Zimbabwe to demonstrate against Mugabe openly. He spent months demonstrating against Mugabe in Harare. I think it is in the Harare Gardens, right in the center of Harare, and he was abducted by state security agents. He's been missing for a very long time, and it's not clear what happened to him. So it's a tragedy that the family has lost two brothers within a very short space of time, and this must be very painful for the family. So as soon as I get more information, I'm going to update you. But for now, what we know is that Patson Zamara had gone in for an operation at Avenues Clinic. He was walking, he was talking, he was calling people, but suddenly they got the message that he had passed away this morning. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on WhatsApp, send it to as many people as possible. If you're watching this on YouTube and Facebook, please like, comment, and share.
Pan-African Morning will be going on a very short commercial break. We'll be back with you just shortly. Please do continue to stay with us right here on Galaxy Universal Network, channel 500.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
Mukhaitsu, welcome back. This is Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And of course, we are on channel 500 on StarSat as we continue with our stories this morning. And on our Africa stories, Ugandan citizens were amongst the proudest domestic travelers. Prior to the pandemic, Ugandans had been traveling more than in the past years, but not many can afford that luxury anymore. Majority of travel agencies which are in line, or rather which line the streets of Kampala, still have their doors closed. A number of agencies that are open have not had customers coming in. The traveler sector's fears for the future is the few agencies that are having any kind of walk-ins have been dealing with clients who come in and ask for information about departures of the repatriation flights. The Ugandan borders are still closed with a reported total of 97% cancellation on flights that were booked before the coronavirus pandemic. Travel agencies in the country says that they have hope that the industry will pick up before the Christmas season. And at this point, national parks, recreational facilities and hotels are open. Uganda's wildlife and scenery tourism has ground to a halt due to coronavirus pandemic. And Dr. Kalema Zikusoka says that since lockdown gripped Uganda, many people living around the parks have started entering and poaching animals to put food on their table. Uganda is home for nearly half of the world's mountain gorillas, and tourists from around the globe travel to country in hope to catch a glimpse of the critically endangered ape. A silverback gorilla called Rafiki is one of the countless animals that have fallen victims to poachers and as the effects of coronavirus hit the Eastern Africa country. Rafiki had been killed by a poacher who claimed the animal charged at him, and the killing was an act of self-defense. The poacher was sentenced to 11 years in jail.
Communities of Bwindi and Mgahinga National Park are suspected to have killed Rafik and silverback gorilla through poaching. This was revealed during a function to donate food to these communities that had resorted to eating game meat to save their families from hunger as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown. Tourists from America and Germany through Nkuringo Community Conservation Development Foundation have donated maize flour. This donation is to benefit schools, breastfeeding mothers.
You know, Susanda, as much as, it's unfortunate for Rafiki to die or to be killed just like that, the sad part is, animals like Rafiki, gorillas, are the ones that actually promoting the tourism, in Africa. People will actually go to Uganda or in any part of the country just to look at these animals. I mean, he was famously known as the gorilla with a silver back. And, when we go to their countries, people want to actually go and see this gorilla with a silver back. And it's very unfortunate that, poachers can just come in and kill, animals like the Rafiki and then come and say that it was self-defense.
It is a very sad story, I must say. The travel and tourism industry has been hit quite very hard. I mean, even here in the Republic of South Africa, Travel SA announced early this week that they are shutting their doors as well due to the impacts of COVID-19. So even though the economy is slowly opening up, there are still so many countries where you cannot go and visit. And I mean, Africa was a bigger destination for visitation for many of other people from outside. But let's hope that quite very soon it will open up, especially as the fact that December is approaching from your September going down and we're starting to have summer. And in some parts of, especially in Europe, it's going to start to be a very cold winter. So that's when we usually get international visitors that will be running away from the winter season in Europe coming into Africa to come and enjoy the sunny weather and of course visiting our beaches as well as our natural spaces that we can. So let's just hope that things will pick up, and it's a very, very sad one because really if the borders are closed, nothing that can pick up, and we know that the impact of COVID-19 has caused that some of those businesses, they may not even open up in the future. So let's just hope things will pick up soon.
And on the other hand, I'm asking myself, I wonder what will happen, or rather what happened to the body of Rafiki there, in Uganda. Do they bury the body, or maybe do they cut it and eat the gorilla? I wonder.
No. Rafiki was not being hunted for burial, Sisi. No, Rafiki was killed for dinner.
Sisanda, are you sure with that?
You were not, Sisi. They were not. They were not, but unfortunately this one, he was caught since now he's in jail. He said it was of course a self-defense as it is reported that the gorilla was charging at him. But when they were hunting down these animals, they were not hunting them down for for a display. They were hunting it for food, as they said that it is. Things are tough. Life is tough. There's no food. There's nothing. So they are relying now on these animals to put food on their tables. So unfortunately, he was 5'2", the plate. But
anyway, Mukhai, so let us continue with our Africa stories. Now, former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo has been irrevocably removed from electoral list and will not be able to run for the top post in upcoming presidential elections. The removal is because the Ivorian judiciary ruling recognizes him as still being in exile. The removal was confirmed by Independent Electoral Commission President Ibrahim Coulibaly Kubiet. He said any person convicted of the misdemeanor or a crime and stripped of their civil rights has been removed from the list. Gbagbo was sentenced to 20 years in prison by the Ivorian courts for robbery of the Central Bank of the West African state during the post-election crisis on 2010, and he was later acquitted in a court of the first instance and has since moved to Brazil, in Belgium, in Europe, on a conditional release by the International Criminal Court, where he is still awaiting a possible appeal in his home country. Now, Simone Gbagbo, the former First Lady and spouse of the Laurent Gbagbo, requested that current Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara grant her husband amnesty, as she expressed her disapproval the trial which found her partner guilty that consequently led to the electoral decision. And the arguments used to justify the removal of Laurent Gbagbo's name from the electoral list are highly questionable legal arguments. And moreover, the trial that led to this conviction is itself political and unjustifiable. And some of Gbagbo's supporters are not happy about the latest decision. The political climate in Côte d'Ivoire has since become the tense 10 years after the post-election crisis that killed more than 3,000 people. The violence that followed the announcement of the President Ouattara's candidacy for a third term left at least 8 people dead in August.
Je suis anciennement PDCI. Le monsieur à côté de moi, on a milité au PDCI. Ces animaux-là, ils sont venus me frapper, vous les avez vus, et ils m'ont tabassé, ils m'ont cassé mes lunettes. C'est pas comme ça qu'on doit diriger la Côte d'Ivoire. On ne peut pas commander un pays comme ça dans le désordre. Mais c'est des assassins.
And still on our Africa stories, Lagos State Commissioner of Health, Professor Akin Aboyomi, has tested positive for COVID-19. The news was confirmed in a press statement signed by the State's Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Gegba Omotoso. According to the press statement, the Commissioner Aboyomi contracted the virus after rather subsequent close contact with a person who was feeling unwell and has since tested positive as well. Professor Aboyomi became aware of his status following the required testing protocol of the contact tracing procedures. The commissioner will be isolated in his home for the next 14 days but will continue to discharge his duties, which also includes being the Deputy Incident Commander of the Incident Commander System for COVID-19.
Hello Lagosians, my name is Akin Abayomi. I'm the Commissioner of Health for Lagos. I'm here to tell you about this new infection that's going around the world. It's called the coronavirus. It emanated in China. It came from the animal kingdom. It has affected 17 countries. About 4,590 patients have been affected, with about 106 deaths to date. It has typical symptoms: headache, running nose, cough, sore throat, muscle ache, high fever, difficulty breathing, pneumonia perhaps. And if you feel that you are experiencing any of these symptoms and you've had a contact either by virtue of travel to Southeast Asia or people that have come from Southeast Asia, we would like you to present to one of our general hospitals. Here in Lagos, we're ramping up our capacity. Our general hospitals are getting more in tune with this situation. We're increasing our surveillance at the airports. We're building our emergency operations center where we can harmonize our response to this infection. Please, Lagosians, take this situation seriously and contact any of the numbers that we're going to display on the screen for you.
This message is from the Lagos State Ministry of Health. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, ó ti di àjùmọ̀ṣe.
That was the Lagos Health Commissioner who tested positive for COVID-19, Abo Yomi. But otherwise, Mkhaisu, let us continue with our Africa stories. Now, hundreds of young Libyans marched to Tripoli. The march is a protest action against the deteriorating living conditions and corruption. There has been a heavy security forces presence as a large group made for teenagers and children moved towards the Martyrs Square, which is in the capital. They have occupied the location of the last 3 days. The protester says that there is no electricity, no water. The cost of living is too high and there are no employment opportunities. The group calls for a reform and improvement of the living conditions for the Libyan people. The demonstrations took place in after Faiz al-Sarraj, who is the head of the United Nations recognized government of national accord, the GNA, sought to appease protesters on Monday by announcing that he would conduct a cabinet reshuffle. Al-Sarraj said new ministers will be chosen based on their competence, abilities and integrity. Libya has endured almost a decade of violent chaos since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled and killed veteran dictator Muammar Gaddafi. You know, Susanda, this is very sad what's happening right now in Libya because now the youth are crying out that there's no job. They're crying out, you know, for corruption that's happening in their country and this and that. And, you know, now it's like one thing after another. But, you know, as we were discussing, you know, this actually goes back to how Libya was in the time of Muammar Gaddafi. Things are now different, you know what I mean? And at that time, Libya was excelling. I mean, everyone would be, even tourism was open there, you know, infrastructure was there. People were actually getting houses for free. And apparently even those men that were getting married, you know, they were getting 50,000 rands. Is it in rands?
No,
US dollars. Yes, of course. Yeah, US dollars, you know, just for getting married. So life was actually moving and, you know, things were fine. But then now, the country is in turmoil.
It's quite very difficult because the youth that was, you know, that is currently, you know, putting this protest, they were the very same ones that toppled Muammar Gaddafi, and now they are crying again. So I think it's a similar case that is happening also in Zimbabwe. You know, okay, not to say the direct comparison, you know, because you know, Mugabe also messed the country up, but as Zimbabwe was also one of the top countries. People were migrating to Zimbabwe. People used to migrate to Libya as well. So it is just quite very difficult that sometimes you never know what you have until you lose it. And that's when you realize that, oh, you know what, I have it better. And now it's even worse. And for this matter then, for Libya, it's quite very sad because they cannot bring back Gaddafi because he was killed. If maybe he was maybe set aside, like former President Jacob Zuma, he's been putting visuals to say, oh no, I'm still available if you need me to come back and be a president again. So that's a little bit of a different story when it comes to this one, because this guy is dead. So there's no way they can get him back. And the issues that are happening in Libya, it is not just, the issue of corruption, poverty and everything. There are wars that are taking place every day. People are dying. People are being killed in Libya. There's still, even in the issues between Baghdad and Libya, they are still quite very high in those countries, and they're still fighting, and people are fleeing those countries to other countries, and it is quite very, very painful to
It's quite
witness,
painful indeed, because the way you look at it, a whole lot of people, these soldiers or these people that are actually, doing this war and fighting in Africa are mainly the youth.
Yes.
And it's so sad to know that most of our youth are being so easily influenced, you know. And they're given guns, they don't even know where these guns come from, and then they are given maybe just a thank you, just a little, they're just to push war in Africa.
No,
so
all
people
these
from
wars.
outside come into our countries, into African countries, and push war using the youth for their, for their greed and their personal greed, and to make us fight. That's why we're having so much, civil wars in our countries.
No, definitely.
All because people come in and influence our youth, to fight each other, and against each other.
All these wars that we see happening mostly in our African countries, they are not instigated by the African people that are in here. They are instigated by foreign forces that are aiming to gain particular, riches that are in those countries. We know that Libya is quite very rich in oil as well, so they are trying to get in there and gain those, persuading people. And I strongly believe that it is in the hands of, media houses, because all this thing is being done through the media, the communication, all the news and all the hype is being created by media houses to say, oh, listen, look how it's effect. Media can break or make you, They are perpetuating the fact that, Gaddafi was a bad person. He has done this, he has done that. And, waking people to be angry and to retaliate against or revolt against this people. And then after that, they are coming back again and giving the people, the guns and everything to fight amongst each other, and then they come in and collect the riches and then walk away. And I think it is on our hands right now to actually portray Africa for what exactly it is, and not what it is perceived to be by the Western world, because they are trying to portray us as bad. In the meantime, Africa is carrying the entire economy of most of the powerhouses outside of Africa. We are the ones that are feeding these countries with our own riches. And I was listening to this Lesotho big diamond that was found. Now they were saying that, we need to take it to Europe for it to be, cleaned and come back, because I'm like, this is all nonsense. Why don't we have our own refineries in our own country? Now you're going to take this thing out there and then you bring it back now 50 times the price of what it's supposed to be. It is just, they are just ripping us apart. But let's have a look at that visuals from Libya.
Well, these are the news and stories that we are bringing you right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And of course, we are bringing you live stories all the way across the entire Africa. We are fearless, we are zero favor, and we are zero fiction. And as we continue with our Africa stories, an international arrest warrant for Alois Ntwergagbo has been issued in Rwanda. Ntwergagbo is a former senior Rwandan military official who is under investigation in France for his alleged role in the country's 1994 genocide. France opened a probe after a French publication, Mediapart, reported that Mr. Ntwergagbo is in the city of Orleans. He has been identified by the International Criminal Tribunal of Rwanda, the ICTR, as one of the architects of the genocide. The revelation of his whereabouts came barely 2 months after another suspected genocide architect, Felicien Kabuga, was arrested on Paris suburb, and Kabuga, who evaded police in several countries for 25 years, is accused of financing the genocide. Kabuga has asked for a trial in France, citing frail health and claiming the United Nations Court in Africa would be biased against him and possibly hand him over to the Rwandan authorities. Meanwhile, Serge Bramerets, the chief prosecutor for the International Tribunal handling Rwanda's genocide cases, arrived in Rwanda on Tuesday with a team of prosecutors and investigators. Bramerets will spend 2 weeks in the country while the team will remain for a month to investigate and gather evidence on Kabuga and other genocide suspects at large. France has long been known as a hiding place for wanted genocide suspects. French investigators currently have dozens of cases underway, and although Paris has so far never extradited a suspect to Rwanda.
Rwandan genocide suspect Felicien Kabuga was arrested on Saturday near Paris after 26 years on the run. He is accused of funding Hutu militias that massacred about 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus in 1994. The 84-year-old is Rwanda's most wanted man and had a $5 million US bounty on his head. French authorities say he was living under a false identity in a flat in a suburb near the capital. Kabuga was indicted in 1997 on 7 criminal counts in relation to the Rwanda genocide, according to the UN-established International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals. The arrest paves the way for bringing the fugitive in front of the Paris Appeal Court and later to the International Court in The Hague. Rwanda's 2 main ethnic groups are the Hutus and Tutsis, who have historically had an antagonistic relationship and fought a civil war in the early 1990s.
So Pan-African Morning will be taking a very short break. Stay tuned, don't go away. This is Galaxy Universal Network.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in 4th Industrial Revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Welcome back again. If you have just joined us, we welcome you. We're still right here on Pan African Morning, broadcasting live in the Republic of South Africa. Of course, if you are in the northeast, west, and of course, southern Africa, we're saying good morning to you and thank you for joining us. We are moving on with our stories now, looking into outside of the African continent. There is another uproar in the United States of America as protests have flared up after police shooting. The victim of the shooting is the 29-year-old Jacob Blake. Blake was shot by the police in the back at close range. According to an eyewitness, there was a struggle between Blake and the police. Blake was free and walked away from them and around his car to driver's side, where he was shot after opening the door. According to the bystander video that went viral, 3 of his young sons were in the car. Have a look.
You a bogus bitch! This bitch is bogus! Mom, get back! Mom! Mom! You have to get back!
His family and lawyers said on Tuesday that Blake was hit by 4 of the 7 shots fired at him. This left him paralyzed and fighting for his life. Kenosha police confirmed that the incident said that they are investigating the events which led to the shooting. They have also called for witnesses to come forward. Now, let us take a look at that. You know, Palisa, it's a very painful one now to once again see that in the United States, this police brutality is continuing. It's coming back once more, and this time, of course, as well, caught on camera. Then it makes one wonder how many others that are not caught on camera that are happening in the United States. And this guy was shot even facing the other direction. What threat was he posing to the police? Hence, he was opening the door. Probably they were believing that he was taking a weapon or something. It's yet to be known. And this guy is left paralyzed, unfortunately.
And you know, the sad part about this story is that this happened while Jacob Blake's children were in the car. So this brutal policeman had a nerve to take out 7 bullets on a man, on a father, on a husband, right in front of the kids. You know what I mean? And of course, they were shooting him at the back. And if you are shooting at least, I don't even want to say at least, but if you're shooting 1 bullet, why should they be following another bullet, 2nd bullet, 3rd bullet, 5th bullet, 6th, and then 7th bullet? So definitely, I think these police were aiming to kill this father in front of the kids. And even, you know, not even listening to people screaming and people's voices saying, please stop it. People were screaming and trying to stop these policemen. But their aim, as usual, what they are used to, their aim was to kill a black man behind his back in front of the kids. So what proof do they have that Jacob Blake was going to the car to get a weapon? Where is the proof? There's no proof in that. Instead, their aim was only to take a bullet and shoot a black man behind his back in front of the kids.
And they were endangering the lives of the children as well. So I think if they were charged, they also need to be charged with attempted murder of those children as well, because they were in the car. And all those bullets, 7 of them, one of them or 2 of them could have landed on the children, subsequently killing them. It is totally unacceptable. Have one more look.
I am my brother's keeper. And when you say the name Jacob Blake, make sure you say father, make sure you say cousin, make sure you say son, make sure you say uncle, but most importantly, make sure you say human. Human life. Let it marinate in your mouth, in your minds. A human life. Just like every single one of y'all and everywhere around the world. We're human. And his life matters. So many people have reached out to me telling me they're sorry that this happened to my family. Well, don't be sorry, because this has been happening to my family for a long time. Longer than I can account for. It happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till is my family. Philando, Mike Brown, Sandra. This has been happening to my family. And I've shared tears for every single one of these people that it's happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry. And I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have been watching police murder people that look like me for years. I'm also a Black History minor. So not only have I been watching it in the 30 years that I've been on this planet, but I've been watching it for years before we were even alive. I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change.
A very unfortunate incident there, Palisa. Of course, some other famous Americans had, take a swipe on this, and also this is what LeBron James had to say.
And then at the same time, having the emotions of going on to what happened outside of Milwaukee, to James Blake, Jacob Blake. I'm sorry, Jacob Blake. It's what we've been talking about. And it's what we're going to continue to talk about. Having 2 boys of my own, and me being an African American in America, and to see what continues to happen with the police brutality towards my kind. Continue to see what goes on with the unjust. It's very troubling. It's very troubling, and we play a beautiful game, which brings so many great families together, and people be able to rejoice and enjoy it. But at the same time, never losing track of what's really going on in our world, especially here in America. So, my prayers goes to that family, and hopefully we can have some change. And it starts with, I believe it starts with November. That's why I started an initiative that I'm doing with More Than a Vote, and getting people to understand what's really at risk, and the change. If we continue to talk about change, we have an opportunity to make change, but it still doesn't stop there, even with whoever comes next.
Yeah, it is quite very tough. LeBron James was even saying that it's hard to be an African American in America. A very sad story in there. It's
basically he's saying that it's hard to be black in America.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And now a whole lot of other people have also commented on social media, and they're saying that, this guy was resisting arrest, and what should people expect, or what should police expect, when people are resisting arrest. But all I'm saying is, even if he was resisting arrest, why shoot a black man? Why take out the trigger and shoot him? Are there no rubber bullets in America? I'm just, asking myself, because this was actually endangering his life. Resisting arrest or no resisting arrest, they should have maybe at least cuffled him and arrested him, but not to shoot. Well, that is just my view, and I'm sure a whole lot of people are agreeing with what I'm saying, because you do not shoot a man on his back especially in front of his kids, because not only is that arrest, but then the kids are probably traumatized as well. There is psychological
for the rest of
trauma
their lives.
for the children.
Having to see, they shot him on the spine and everything, so obviously chances of him ever being able to walk again, they are quite very slim. So they've taken his freedom in there. And of course, we're not even sure if he's going to come out of hospital alive, because he's still in critical condition. It is quite very difficult. But moving on with our stories. Heavy flooding in the northern and eastern Afghanistan has killed at least 70 people. Officials says that deluge ravaged large parts of Charika city, which is the capital of Pawan province. Spokeswoman for Pawan province, Hawinda Shaka, said that the number of casualties may rise as rescue team work to locate people that were buried under the destroyed houses. So far, 90 people have been injured, and a number of might rise as people are still stuck under the rubble, with rescue operations ongoing. The Ministry of Disaster Management said in a statement that containing the incident and helping the affected families was beyond the capacity of the local government, and the central government should step in quickly. Shaka said that many children were among the dead in Shakira and in Sharika, which was hit by heavy rains overnight. Ahmad Jan is resident of Sharak Malmin, a village in Pawan province, said most people are still stuck under the rubble of their houses, and more than 50 people in his area are houses are completely damaged. And he said that he doesn't know how many have died, but most people are still under the roofs, and it was an early morning, so most people were still sleeping. And rescue team is helping take out the dead bodies and the injured. Now, Israel and Lebanon are still technically at war, and United Nations force UNIFIL is tasked with monitoring the ceasefire. It is reported that Lebanon had rejected an Israel call to reform a UN peacekeeping force patrolling the border ahead of a UN Security Council vote to renew its mandate. The rejection also comes after Hezbollah announced on Saturday that it had brought down an Israel drone flying over the blue line. Last September, Hezbollah vowed to shoot down Israel drones flying over Lebanon following an incident a month earlier when two drones packed with explosives targeted the group's stronghold in South Beirut. Last month, Israel said that Hezbollah carried out an infiltration attempt, which the Iran-backed group denied. Israel's military ministry said that they've responded with fire fire and on their aircraft stuck in Hezbollah's observation post near the border. This is a severe event and remain ready to combat any threat to their security borders. The ministry said that soldiers deployed illumination flares, smoke shows and live fire after the shots from the Lebanese side of the frontier. Furthermore, they said that they carried out air attacks at the Helboza observation ports in Lebanon on Wednesday after shots were fired from across the border towards its troops and the previous evening. According to Lebanon, the security incident was unfolding in the vicinity of Munara near the UN demarcated blue line border between the two nations. Have a look.
Illumination flares, smoke shells and used live fire. Meanwhile, Hezbollah-run media outlet said Israel fired phosphorus munitions at the Lebanese side of the border. Earlier, Israel also bombed the Gaza Strip for the 14th consecutive night, accusing Hamas of launching incendiary balloons. No casualties have been reported from either of the two attacks so far.
It's time for us to take a very short commercial break. We'll be back in a short while. Please do stay with us.
Feel the heat. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat.
Mukhais, welcome back. If you've just joined us, we are right here on Galaxy Universal Network on channel 500 on StarSat. And of course, this is Pan-African Morning News, bringing you all the news and updates all the way from South Africa. We are in Johannesburg, broadcasting in Midrand. And of course, I am still continuing my Pan-African queen in Ntombi yase KZN. Lo fikile wagaleleka waba mabona kude. Wow, kunyela, wangena. Wow. Susanda Mrs. Patel.
The way you talk ngakhona, one would swear you're coming from Manguzi as well.
Vele ngibuye eMangozi laphana eDontsheni kwangqingcentshe never kwamhlaba uyalingana.
Marapalisa eDontsheni is a farm, it's not a house. So you can't
zoya khona.
No, for sure. I'll take you to eMadontsheni. Kumele uyoluma umdumbula namadumbe.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do exactly that. Now, on our international, or rather entertainment stories. Now, there is no more Mrs. Gigabyte. Gigaba's wife rebrands as Noma Mngoma.
That's entertainment?
Yes,
entertainment,
it's entertainment news.
Oh, entertainment for some people.
It is entertainment for all of us.
Oh, but you know more Mrs. Gigabyte, now Miss Ngom.
Yes, it used to be your Instagram celebs. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I was in
yes, you know, as the hot potato. It says that Noma Mngoma, the wife of the former minister Malusi Gigaba, rebranded and dropped her Mrs. Gigabyte's image. Noma made an announcement on her Instagram account yesterday. She then reintroduced herself to social media sporting as a blonde afro hairdo. Her caption to the post, "I am so excited to use my maiden surname again. This is who I am and where I belong. New beginnings," hashtag, you know. And now let's have a look at that visual for former Mrs. Gigabytes. All right, sir. We are going to get into that. I mean, Palisa, when we look into this story of, Noma Gigaba, she is now insinuating that she's probably going to be divorcing then if she is no longer Mrs., now going back to Miss. Is that the case?
Yeah, well, people are saying so on social media, but then what we've read and, the reports that are actually doing all the rounds,
yes,
they are saying that Malusi Gigaba is the one that's filing for divorce. But, my question here, Sisanda, is with the issue of Malusi Gigaba and Noma, right? If it was a woman, that was on
yes,
the spotlight more than Noma, I always feel that, people will always judge the woman to say, yo, she used to be Mrs. Gigabyte, she used to be Noma, she used to be Malusi's, wife. And I honestly feel that I don't know if there'll be any other man that will be brave enough now to take on a woman like Noma. So for me, it's going to put her on the side where now we're going to say, it's Noma. But I'm asking myself, Umalusi, now will now all the women, now the guy is going to get divorced, are women now going to go rushing and wanting to be seen next to a man like Malusi, whom even we know the history, according to the newspaper reports, what, he's been through in terms of relationships? Will it be easier for Malusi now to be a bachelor, who's in demand? And what's going to happen to the, to the lady who's going to be, in demand right here now?
The sad part is that people would not look into, especially when it comes to Malusi. Malusi is a brand himself. He carries himself as such, except, of course, there's multiple women stories around him. So I'm quite convinced that a large number of women were still going to flock on Malusi. And also, we were made aware that the reason why he got in a heated issue with his wife, it was because of there was another miss in the mix, that is reportedly pregnant.
Another one of them.
Yes, there is, she is reportedly pregnant of Malusi Gigaba's child, which of course made Malusi's former wife, if I could say, Noma, to be mad at him. So. It is possible that, women would not actually look into that. There is a say in Zulu, Tiwa, Oishaila Rayos, which means that, and also another one,
another
it says,
woman's, what's that?
Oishaila Rayos, it basically means that if you have maybe, actually, let me
another woman's loss is another woman's gain.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
It actually says that, not really per se, it says that whoever that has it at that moment, you even if you have that partner in your life, it's not 100% a confirmed case that that person will end up with you. There's still a chance that another person can come and take that partner from you. So,
but that's exactly what happened, because even before Unoma, there was another woman as well who also cried her tears, and then now it's Noma, now it's like it's karma. This thing, keeps repeating itself, from the past, it goes on, and it never changes, and every time it's like men are the ones that are always put on the, on the table, and, they are still men.
Yes.
They are still macho,
Yes.
This whole thing.
The sad part about this whole thing is that for Malusi, that he's busy with different women, he's seen as Isoga, he can get many women. But if it was the other way around, the woman would be labeled all sorts of names that you can imagine. So unfortunately, but I think it's good for Noma to stand out there and be herself now and find herself. And as she said, that she has always been Noma Mgoma, let her continue, to push her own brand as her person and not being as a wife of a former minister or whatsoever, because she's a strong woman on her own.
Yeah, and she took a stand, and while other women are still hiding, living in their big, houses with, big walls.
With tears on their faces every day.
Exactly, Susanna.
Yeah. So let her go out there and start her life over and reinvent herself. And we wish her all the best in Bogoto as we are going into that journey. And we know that you're going to nail it in that field that you're going into. Now, moving on with our stories. Tom Cruise surprises fans by sneaking into a Tenet screening. Tom Cruise surprised fans by sneaking into London cinema to watch a screening of Christopher Nolan's new sci-fi blockbuster, Tenet. The Hollywood action star shared a video on social media of his trip to see Christopher Nolan's new sci-fi blockbuster. Cruz gets recognized by fans as taxi stops at the set of traffic lights, even though most of his face is covered with a face mask. Production on the Paramount Pictures blockbuster had been taking place in Venice, but shooting was halted as the cause of COVID-19 pandemic ravaged Italy earlier this year. Have a look.
How did that happen? I'm wearing a mask.
Tom Cruise is having some fun across the pond. The actor shared a video on Twitter where he attends a screening of Christopher Nolan's Tenet in London. The star rocked a mask and looked pumped to be back at the movie theater.
How did that happen? I'm wearing a mask. Here we are. Back to the movies. Back in the movie theater, everybody. I loved it. I loved it.
Big movie, big screen. Loved it, he wrote. Fans reacted to the fun moment online. Imagine going to the cinema and having Tom sitting next to you. I wouldn't live to tell about it, one person wrote. Hope you had a good time, Tom. Thanks for sharing, another person tweeted. Tom is definitely a fan of film. Access Hollywood previously chatted with him at CinemaCon in 2018, where he discussed about learning helicopter skills for his film Mission Impossible. Talk about dedication.
You know, it's a very elegant, beautiful film, but lots of incredible action. I fly airplanes. I'm an aerobatic pilot, but I really wanted to train and do an aerobatic sequence in a helicopter in this movie. It's something that McHugh and I talked about. So I trained for a year and a half while I was even preparing other films, and I did a movie called American Made, where I did all the flying. We really used that as a test for what we can accomplish with a helicopter. Obviously, a fixed wing is different than a helicopter, where I can take a helicopter and you can kind of stall, you stall the wings and you really feel where that aircraft is. With the helicopter, there is, it's either flying or it's not, and you really, the edges are very sharp. The precipice is very steep when you push that aircraft too much. So, it's something that, when we were going into it, we had to build new camera rigs for the helicopter and really test not only my own ability, but what is the physical ability of that aircraft and what can we accomplish. So it was a great aircraft, Airbus helicopter, very powerful, and so yeah, you're going to see it. It's wild. I mean, I'm taking it into some spins and some wing overs and some crazy things. We just took that aircraft right to the edge.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, a friend to many of the ladies.
To many of you, Sisanda, of you.
When I'm to Tom Cruise?
Not to Tom Cruise, no. Tom Cruise is a white man for me.
Of course, this is why he's, in the markets. What do you think?
Not Tom Cruise. No, yeah.
Uyosala kanjalo sihamba naye uTom Cruise tina. Yeah. You know them blue eyes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Appreciation for nature,
there.
you know what I'm saying? Just appreciate the beauty of nature. You know what I mean?
Okay, no comments.
Nonetheless,
about that.
moving on to sports now. The defender Chilwell on 5-year contract, and of course now let's look into the first story. The Premier League has announced that Chelsea has signed England left-back Ben Chilwell from Leicester City for a 5-year contract. Financial details of the deal were not disclosed, but British media reported that Chelsea paid about £50 million for the 23-year-old Chilwell, who have made about 89 league appearances for the Leicester staff in 5 years at the club. Chilwell is Chelsea's third major signing for the new season, following the arrival of Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech from RB Leipzig and the Alex Amsterdam, respectively. They have also been linked with Bayer Leverkusen attacking midfielder Kai Havertz as Frank Lampard bids to improve his squad to challenge for the Premier League title. Have a look.
obviously, you know, since you're a young boy, I remember coming here when I was, you know, 12, 13, 14, playing in the youth teams, and just, you know, seeing what a great club it was even then at that age. It's always kind of a daunting thing playing against Chelsea when you're younger, and, you know, such an elite club. So being part of it now, you know, I'm really excited and can't wait to get started. You know, obviously I've been at Leicester the past few weeks, so, you know, I've been focused on just making sure that I give everything for as long as possible while I'm at Leicester, and just being respectful to everyone at the club while I'm still there, really. Do you know what? Obviously, it was a tough decision in terms of, you know, leaving a lot of good friends, and it's kind of like home to me. I've been there since I was, you know, 11, 12 years old. So in that respect, it was difficult. But in terms of my career and, you know, what a great club Chelsea is, it was a pretty easy decision for myself.
Now, these are the sports news that we had for you this morning. We must not forget that tonight is a very, very big challenge. You know, the Praetorians versus the Sowetan's. It's a decider, of course, for Mamelodi Sundowns. They want to check that today it's going to be a day today to prove that they are back in the game and they are going to be in a front run for the league. In the other hand, Kaizer Chiefs wants to, widen the gap because they are only 3 points apart. So if Mamelodi Sundowns win today, it is going to mean that they are now equal with Kaizer Chiefs on point. So it could be either or. And the only difference, of course, will be the goal difference between the two clubs, which Kaizer Chiefs at the moment is on the upper hand. And then when it comes to, Kaizer Chiefs on the other hand, if they win, it will now also be, opening the gap a bit wider now, putting the hopes of winning this year's season league very, very high. And if they draw, of course, they are still, putting, which I think maybe a draw will be more exciting because it will still making, the league being still positive for any of them to win. Also, Bidvest Wits, it's still in a position that they can come back as well and win this. So we are looking forward to that game tonight. It's going to be a very, very difficult one. And I'm sure now tonight, since you're a Buccaneer, you'll be supporting the Mamelodi Sundowns. Is that the case, Palisa?
I mean, I've always, once a Buccaneer, always a Buccaneer. So I don't want to say who I'll be supporting right now. I'll just be watching. But otherwise, I'm just looking forward to the day, Ipaga gets on the sports ground, No. But I'm going to keep watching because right here on Galaxy Sports, we'll definitely keep bringing you all the news and updates of the world of sports.
Mara, Ipaga kanti why you are looking forward to in
lizovuka nyalazi Buccaneer algaze nje disappointed. So like I said, once a Buccaneer, always a Buccaneer. So yeah, for now tonight I'll just be watching and rooting for everyone. Lo meko ngite ingenile, lo meko ngite laduma. Yeah.
But on other news, Morocco Swallows. Morocco Swallows used to be actually a very, very big team in Soweto. Yes. And now they are on Glad Africa League, of course. There is a holding number one, of course, number one spot. There is a possibility that we are looking to fight for them to make their comeback into the, PSL, So we are hoping to see them in there. Hopefully they will be making their comeback. I'm looking forward to that. The other team that I'm wanting to see coming back into the PSL is Jomo Cosmos. These are other big teams that used to be there, that they still have a very strong followership, and supporters are still always behind this team. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope and wish them well as they continue. Now it's time for us to take a very short break. When we're coming back, we've got more news and updates for you right here on Galaxy Universal Network. Please do stay with us.
Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through.
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement.
That was delightful.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat.
Mohaitsu, welcome back. This is still Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And of course, we are broadcasting in the entire continent of Africa. And let's look at our headlines this morning as we started, with the story of Unzimande. Yes, Oblade Nzimande.
Yes.
And versus Uholomisa.
Yes.
And of course, yes, the story of the public protector. And our headlines this morning, the public protector Busisiwe Kwebani, and that's the stories that we were looking at this morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So otherwise, Sisanda, I want to know, what do you think, of the UDM leader, who Blade, not Blade Nzimande, Holomisa, Bantu Holomisa, General Bantu Holomisa, accusing Blade Nzimande, that's,
Yes.
that story is definitely still unfolding. And of
Yes.
course, on our other headline, public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane, is in the process of issuing a subpoena for the for alleged tender corruption. And of course, Kosatu wants government not to use public servants' pension funds for investments. And again, of course, like as I said earlier on, Bantu Holomisa guns for Blade Nzimande to be suspended. And on our other headlines, members of the ESCOM board leave a bitter taste as they cancel a SCOPA meeting via text. And the youth in Libya, they take to the streets to protest for better living conditions. Now, those were our headlines now this morning. And moving on now to our stories this morning, as we continue with our stories this morning. Yes. Yeah, that's what's happening. But others, public protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane made public a decision to start the process of issuing subpoenas for the alleged tender irregularities and irregular procurement processes related to the issuing of the PPEs during the COVID-19 lockdown. And Mkhwebane is investigating several complaints at the provincial government departments relating to this. And according to Mkhwebane, investigators from her office were met with resistance by the public officials who refused to cooperate. And it is alleged that the officials in question said that they have already given answers to Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, which was also investigating the COVID-19 related corruption. And the Office of the Public Protector has had a different function from that of the SIU and has the power to investigate any allegations of suspicions to improper conduct in state affairs. Now, it is reported that the resistance from the officials have led to the decisions to fast-track the investigations by the public protector.
It depends on who is holding this position. And South Africa, we focus on playing the man than playing the ball. And I think that creates a lot of problems for society, because now there would be that unequal treatment between certain individuals or how the law should apply to certain people, but how it should apply to other people. Other people, they will remain untouchables and they will never account. Whereas then other people will have to be held to account even if there's allegations against them without any evidence. So in those investigations, or the public protector currently using the investigators who were utilized by my predecessor, some of them have been there, some of them I worked with them when I was joining the public protector around 1998. So they've been there with the Advocate Bakwa, now Judge Bakwa, with Advocate Mushwana, with Advocate Matonsela, now with me. So they are the ones who are doing this work, and nothing is changing, because when we investigate as an institution, we check what happened, what should have happened, what are the prescripts applicable to whatever happened, and where people have violated.
And as we continue the other stories now, ESCOM failed to honor its meeting with Standing Committee on Public Accounts, in short, in SCOPA, which was aimed at, amongst other things, to brief SCOPA on outstanding matters related to the investigation into the Chief Operating Officer's Jan Obenholzer. It is reported that meeting has been postponed on the last hour via an SMS. ESCOM Group CEO Andre Director and a large management delegation, including Obenholzer, were present in the virtual meeting, but it was decided that it could not go ahead with the board being present. Peggy Hadebe and an ANC member of parliament said that for the board to excuse itself by text messages at the last minute was completely unacceptable. And board members Pulani Mulukwani told the meeting that she and other board members had joined the meeting late after being given an incorrect link. She also claimed that their presence had no influence on effect the committee and wanted the entire board to be present.
They are disrespecting us, to say the least, for the lack of the better word. Abasboni, if I were to be addressing them in Xhosa, it's completely unacceptable.
I think the problem is more a problem of the appointments to the board. I mean, it really does need a strong permanent appointment to the chair of the board and perhaps some of the members of the board.
The Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association, FITA, revealed it reached a settlement with the government after a long battle to the government to review lockdown regulations, which prohibited the sale of cigarettes from the first day of the national lockdown and was lifted 5 months later when the country moved to level 2 of the national state of disaster lockdown. Now, FITA legally challenged the tobacco ban, but the matter was dismissed in the High Court. The matter was then taken to the Supreme Court of Appeal, where it was granted leave to appeal. And it is alleged that the government has agreed to embark on a public participation process should a temporary prohibition of tobacco sales ever be implemented again. Now, as we move on to other stories, the United Democratic Movement, UDM, has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to suspend with immediate effect the Minister of Higher Education, Blade Nzimande. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa said, "I received a number of documents from an unknown source which exposes what appears to be direct interference from the political head of the Department of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nzimande." Now, the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Blade Nzimande, in departmental processes and administration, as well as the active sidelining and undermining the senior departmental accounting officers. Holomisa added that he was speaking on behalf of his party.
The South Africans knows that they have been betting on a wicket of anti-corruption for many, many years. And I hardly lose any case because before I open my mouth, because the information I've handed to the president yesterday is gonna be difficult for him to distance himself from it because he is interfering in the department, bypassing the accounting officers and is working with one director at the lowest level. A director he always travel with to other departments if he is transferred to that department or appointed to that department. So the documents are with the president. The paper trail is there. Personally, I am not doing any business with government. I don't know what is he talking about, including his department.
And as we're talking, Sisanda, about Blade Nzimande versus the UDM leader, Holomisa, what do you have to say about that? I think I've said enough already, with those headlines already, they're telling a story.
Yes,
but Blade,
yes.
Holomisa is one very outspoken leader, and he says it as it is, what I mean? He doesn't, beat around to the bush, but he is demanding for our president to actually dismiss Blade Nzimande.
Yeah, no, practically, all opposition parties, their job is to oppose anything else that is being done by the other party member, or rather party members, or the other party in general. And what Holomisa is doing, of course, is what most of political parties that are opposing the ANC should be doing. So right now, the fact that he's got evidence that he claims that will be given forward in order to tackle corruption is quite good. And he is saying that the president must take a look at the documents that he has submitted to get the answers that he's looking for.
So, who is the source of those documents? Because he's saying that he's been given, those documents.
He said
to give
unknown.
To president. Yeah.
He said
Why
unknown.
is he saying unknown? Because I just feel that, if you are sure about your story and about your documents and about your statement, and, brave enough to take it to the media and brave enough to take it to the president of South Africa, I think you should also, reveal who the, who is the source.
No, but
of
he
those
can't.
Documents.
He can't reveal his sources, of course, to protect their identity and protect them. If you know that there is somebody that is having access to your banking information, that's one, first and for all, illegal. And then two, you can't reveal those people. It is a part and parcel of the deal to say you can go out there and give this information, but you're never going to say who am I.
But then it goes back to the legitimacy of those statements, because if you cannot reveal your sources, then to me it says this could also be, it could come out as maybe being fake stories.
No, but
I don't know.
by law, Palisa, you cannot reveal your whistleblowers. It's like informers. If the police get the tip off from informants, they cannot disclose. You could say, oh, by the way, Palisa just told us that you are trading drugs in this space. No, you can't do that. You need to protect those people. So unfortunately, they will never say who are the people that are responsible for this particular move.
And I think it goes to investigating then if those statements, or rather, what Holomisa is saying on those statements is actually legit or not. But otherwise, like I said, we are still continuing with the stories, and we will be bringing, all those stories, and we'll go deeper into it, just to inform you guys.
On top of that, Blade Nzimande yesterday gave an update of since the schools just opened on Monday. He gave an update in terms of, the measures that has been taken by the Department of Education to fight against COVID-19 and also prepare the schools and the learners as well as the teachers, the educators in this manner. Let's take a look at that update.
In place across the sector, and to ensure the continued safety of students and staff while allowing for greater access to campus teaching and learning for more students. In terms of the criteria, the following categories of students will be able now to return under level 2. The first category of students who are now going to return as part of this 1/3, it's all groups that had been prioritized to return in level 3 but could not be accommodated due to the maximum campus carrying capacity having been reached. Shutha babesalele ekuqaleni kule ngxenye yesithathu yokuqala yibo manje abazobuyela ngoba sasingekho isikhala esanele ukwenza isiqiniseko sokuthi akukho ukugcwala okuzodala ukuthi singakwazi ukulandela umgomo ukuthi abafundi nabafundisi bangasondelana eduze. The second group will be students in all years of study who require laboratory and technical equipment to complete the academic year. The third group will be students in all years of study who require practical placements, experiential learning, workplace-based learning to complete the academic year. Of course, provided the workplaces and platforms are open and prepared. And the next category that's going back this time is all first-year students in all undergraduate programs. So those are the groups of students who are now going to go back as the second one-third. All other students will continue to be supported through remote multimodal teaching, learning, and assessment until they can return to campus. It is recognized that each institution will determine the implementation of these criteria in terms of their own academic programs and plans. Some have been asking then, what about the last one-third? The last one-third, as per our plans now, will return to universities when we move to level 1. So far then they will continue working remotely through the multimodal learning and teaching mechanisms that have been put in place by the universities. We have been doing everything possible to ensure that we support institutions to respond in the best possible way to the many challenges that have arisen during the pandemic. This has included the reprioritization of funds to support the COVID-19 response at our public universities. On risk assessment during this period, each institution has its own operational plan based on a risk assessment linked to its operating conditions, location, and context. What this means, amongst other things, is that the focus now must really be on institutions and on campuses. We call on all our stakeholders to focus at that level because that is where things are happening. Ngamanye amazwi, umsebenzi omningi manje usezikhungweni la kufundwa khona. La kufanele senze isiqiniseko ukuthi zonke izinto zokuphepha nezinto zokufunda zisesimweni esifanele. Institutions submitted their plans to the department on their 33% return of students to campus and have been requested to submit updated plans for the 66% return by yesterday, and they have indeed submitted. We are analyzing these plans and we will be updating the public as and when we analyze this information and give further guidelines on what is to happen. The department also receives status reports on a wide number of readiness and operational indicators from all institutions on a fortnightly basis. Ningangishika amanzi. Amanzi ayimpilo. Amanzi ayimpilo. Njengoba sifuna abafundi bethu nje bephilile, nami ngifuna ukubajoyina ngiphile ngokuthi ngikwazi ukuphuza amanzi. Ngiyaxolisa. According to the latest report, 14 of our universities are deemed to be at low risk. We have listed them there as we will be releasing this report. Maybe I should read them. The 14 universities that are at low risk is Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Nelson Mandela University, Northwest University, Rhodes University, Solplaatje University, University of Cape Town, University of Johannesburg, University of KwaZulu-Natal, University of Pretoria, University of South Africa, that's UNISA, Stellenbosch University, University of the Western Cape, University of the Witwatersrand, and University of Zululand. 6 other universities are deemed to be at medium risk, which those are Durban University of Technology, Tshwane University of Technology, University of Limpopo, University of Mpumalanga, University of the Free State, and University of Venda. The last 6 universities which are deemed to be at very high risk in terms of being ready to do what is expected of them is the Central University of Technology, is Mangosuthu University of Technology, It's Fako Mahato University, University of Fort Hare, Fadi University of Technology, and the Walter Sisulu University. Of course, there may be changes from the data that we received yesterday, which we hope that will be changes for the better and improvement. And as I have said, we will keep on updating the public of the situation. Maybe just to explain about this readiness, we've got about 21 indicators that cover issues related to safety, issues related on whether the institutions are able to implement multimodal learning, as well as a whole range of other indicators to ensure that universities are ready. That is how we are categorizing that. There are those at low risk, at medium risk, and at high risk. Some universities have not adequately resumed academic teaching and learning for a significant proportion of their student populations since March, when the recess period started. This, of course, poses a very serious risk. The department is currently engaging with all medium and high-risk institutions, the 12, identified above, to secure commitments and actions to lower risks and expedite operations.
Mukhaitsu, you are still watching Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And of course, as we still continue with our stories this morning, now Commissioner Teboho Maruping has announced that the Temporary Employee Relief Scheme, in short, the TERS, will resume with payments again. Now, this after the TERS funds were halted, citing fears that certain wrongdoings that exposed to institutions to potential fraud. Maruping acknowledged the halting of the funds may have had a negative impact on millions of workers who relied on COVID-19 tenders benefit for income. Now, the UIF has appealed to its contributors to bear with the organizations that the pause in payments were designed to make the fund stronger so that it can continue doing its work of providing sustenance to workers in their time of need.
And what we get is what a commission that is going to be commissioned to find whether that commission is really capable of finding corruption. It's unnecessary processes. That is why we're saying President Ramaphosa's campaign was poetic one, you know. It's poetry, and then when he must govern, it is prose. All of a sudden now there are tedious processes that you must, tick the T's and dot the I's, and people are getting impatient. So we're saying, and also nothing stops the president from dealing with corruption, allegations of corruption in the state and in the ANC, because there's another conference resolution that says anyone that is implicated in any form of corruption or criminal act, you must internally in the organization step aside. Now, then you have a process in government that has to unfold. So why are we not using the tool to ensure that we have effective processes? So we're calling for that big X for those that are deemed to be corrupt. I mean, the case in point of
COSATU has once again dashed the government's hopes of lending on workers' retirement funds to invest in, amongst others, infrastructural development in the country. Now, the Federation stood its ground during a briefing yesterday in saying that such an alternative would only be considered when the government put an end to corruption. COSATU President Zingi Swalosi explains.
That you must, tick the T's and dot the I's, and people are getting impatient. So we're saying, and also nothing stops the president from dealing with corruption, allegations of corruption in the state and in the ANC, because there's another conflict.
And of course, this is still Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And just remember, we are on channel 500 on StarSat. And of course, we are live on Facebook. For now, Pan-African Morning will be taking a very short break. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Welcome back again. If you have just joined us, we welcome you. We are running on the last hour of our morning show, which is the Pan-African Morning right here on Galaxy Universal Network Channel 500. Now it has just gone right 1 minute after 8 o'clock in the morning. We are moving on with our stories, of course, focusing in other parts of Africa. Moving on to Zimbabwe, Patsin Dzamara, who was 34 years old, died on Wednesday, according to Nelson Chamisa, the leader of MDC Alliance opposition party leader. Chamisa said that he is devastated by the death of Dzamara, who was a member of the party's executive. Dzamara came into the public spotlight when he became the leading voice in the search for his brother Itai, a journalist and activist who relentlessly challenged former President Robert Mugabe at a time when many Zimbabweans were afraid of confronting the ruler, who was toppled from power in 2017 and later died. He was, adopted from a barber shop in 2015. The late man's brother is still missing. Dzamara famously walked up to Mugabe at an Independent Day event in 2016, holding a placard that said, "Independent but not free. Where is my brother Itai?" Dzamara was whisked away by the Mugabe security guards who allegedly assaulted him. Dzamara's death highlighted the challenges facing Zimbabwe's healthcare system. He did not have enough money to pay for urgently needed surgery at the private facility when he was diagnosed with cancer of colon. Such surgery was not possible in Zimbabwe's public health system, which is plagued by widespread shortages and the frequent strikes by doctors and nurses. Have a look.
This 6 August 2020, and today I've got some very, very sad news. And this is to say, Patson Dzamara, the popular activist from Zimbabwe, has passed away overnight. So this was a sudden death, and according to my sources, Patson Dzamara was walking when he went into Avenues Clinic, and many people are surprised what happened. They just received the message that he passed away, but no one is sure what happened. And apparently he passed away before the operation. He had gone in for an operation for colon cancer, which was diagnosed during routine medical examinations. So last week I talked to some people who have knowledge about the situation, and they say that he had gone in for some checks and doctors found that he had colon cancer and it was supposed to be operated on, like urgently. So a group called Team Pachedu had started fundraising for Patson Dzamara's operation, and they had reached an amount of about $10,000 US, if I'm not mistaken, out of the about 28,000 that they needed. And Patson then was supposed to go urgently into operation, into theater, and that is what had happened yesterday. He went in for an operation at the Avenues Clinic. He was talking to people. He actually talked to people that I know, and they were also surprised to hear that he had died. So it's not clear what happened, and as soon as I get more information, I'm going to give you that information later on today. So as you know, Patson Zamara is the young brother of the missing journalist Itai Zamara, who went missing during Mugabe's days. He was the first person in Zimbabwe to demonstrate against Mugabe openly. He spent months demonstrating against Mugabe in Harare. I think it is in the Harare Gardens, right at the center of Harare, and he was abducted by state security agents. He's been missing for a very long time, and it's not clear what happened to him. So it's a tragedy that the family has lost two brothers within a very short space of time, and this must be very painful for the family. So as soon as I get more information, I'm going to update you. But for now, what we know is that Patson Zamara had gone in for an operation at Avenues Clinic. He was walking, he was talking, he was calling people, but suddenly they got the message that he had passed away this morning. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this on WhatsApp, send it to as many people as possible. If you're watching this on YouTube and Facebook, please like, comment, and share.
Ugandan citizens were amongst the domestic travelers prior to the pandemic, and Ugandan have been traveling more in the past years. But now many can hardly afford the luxury anymore, and majority of travel agencies which line the streets of Kampala still have their doors closed. A number of agencies that are open have had customers coming in. The travel sector fears for the future, as few agencies that are having any kind of walk-ins have been dealing with clients who have come in and asked for information about departures or repatriation. And now Ugandan borders are still closed, with the reported total of 97% cancellation on flights that were booked before the coronavirus pandemic. Travel agencies in the country say that they hope that the industry will pick up before the Christmas season. At this point, the national parks, recreation centers and hotels are open. Uganda's wildlife and scenery tourism had ground to the halt due to the coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Kalima Zikusoka says that since the lockdown gripped Uganda, many people living around the parks have started entering and poaching animals to put food on their tables. Uganda is home to nearly half of the world's mountain gorillas. Tourists from around the globe travel to the country in hope to catch the glimpse on the critically endangered species.
Communities of Bwindi and Mgahinga National Park are suspected to have killed Rafik and silverback gorilla through poaching. This was revealed during a function to donate food to these communities that had resorted to eating game meat to save their families from hunger as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown. Tourists from America and Germany through Nkuringo Community Conservation Development Foundation have donated maize flour. This donation is to benefit schools, breastfeeding mothers, disabilities.
A silverback gorilla called Rafiki is one of the countless animals that have fallen victims of poachers as the effects of coronavirus hit the East African country. Rafiki had been killed by the poacher, who claimed that animals charged at him, and the killing was an act of self-defense. The poacher was sentenced to 11 years in jail. Now moving on to another story, the former Ivorian president Laurent Gbagbo had been irrevocably removed from the electoral list and will not be able to run for the top post in the upcoming presidential elections. The removal is because of the Ivorian judiciary ruling recognizes him as still being in exile. The removal was confirmed by Independent Electoral Commission President Ibrahim Coulibaly Quibet. He said that any person convicted or misdemeanor of crime is stripped of their civil right has been removed from the list.
Je suis anciennement PDCI. Le monsieur à côté de moi, on a milité au PDCI. Ces animaux-là, ils sont venus me frapper, vous les avez vus. Et ils m'ont tabassé, ils m'ont cassé mes lunettes. C'est pas comme ça qu'on doit diriger la Côte d'Ivoire. On ne peut pas commander un pays comme ça dans le désordre. Mais c'est des assassins. Moi...
Gbagbo was sentenced to 20 years in prison by Ivorian courts for robbery of the Central Bank of West African States during the post-election crisis of 2010. He was later acquitted in a court of first instance and has since moved to Brussels in Belgium in the European continent as a conditional release by the International Criminal Court, where he is still awaiting a possible appeal for his home country. Simone Gbagbo, the former First Lady and the spouse of Laurent Gbagbo, requested that the current Ivorian president, Alassane Ouattara, grant her husband amnesty as she expressed her disapproval for the trial, which found her partner guilty, that consequently led to his electoral decision. The arguments used to justify the removal of Laurent Gbagbo's name from the electoral list are highly questionable legal arguments. Moreover, the trial that led to this conviction is political and unjustifiable. Some of Gbagbo's supporters are not happy about the latest decision. The political climate in Côte d'Ivoire had become very tense from the past 10 years after the post-election crisis that killed more than 3,000 people. The violence that had followed the announcement of the President Ouattara's candidacy for the third term left at least 8 people dead in August. Now, let us take a very short break. When we're coming back, we'll look into the stories in Libya, and we are going to touch base with an ambassador of Morocco to South Africa, His Excellency Yousef Amrani. Stay with us.
Feel the heat.
Chicken portions are an easy way to feed a crowd.
I've just started to incorporate all my ingredients.
We're going to put this inside of a hot cast iron skillet.
You want to really fill up on great protein.
It's now time to sample the chef's dish. Look at this.
I know.
Like that?
Feel the excitement.
The chicken is on the spot.
Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat.
Just watch this. Let the pictures tell you everything.
It's all the way through!
Oh, what about that? That was really special. Those are the moments that supporters will remember.
Feel the excitement. That was delightful. Feel the heat with StarSat.
Welcome back again. If you have just joined us, we welcome you. Now we're going into Libya. Hundreds of young Libyans marched to Tripoli. The march is a protest against the deteriorating living conditions and corruption. There has been a heavy security forces presence at large, and the large groups made the teenagers and children move towards the Martyrs Square, which is in the capital. They also have occupied the location for the last 3 days. The protesters say there is no electricity and there is also no water. The cost of living is very high and there are no employment opportunities. The group calls for a reform and improvement of living conditions for the Libyan people. The demonstration took place even after Fayez al-Sarraj, who is the head of the UN, recognized the government of National Accord, sought to appease protesters on Monday by announcing that he would conduct a cabinet reshuffle. Al-Sarraj said that new ministers will be chosen based on their competence, abilities and integrity. Libya has endured almost a decade of violent chaos since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that toppled and killed the veteran dictator Muammar Gaddafi.
شباب قسموا مني فلوسي 200 يجيني بيهم يا ولاد واحد بالسوريين بس راه ما قصروش الزاويه معانا يا ولاد هيا واحده ليهم يا ولاد وفوقكم جاي الزاويه ورين الزاويه يا ولاد هيا يا هو وين شباب طرابلس زاوية زاوية نبالي زاوية نبالي ليلة ضاوية زاوية نبالي ليلة ضاوية
وين شباب الزاوية ليلة ضاوية
While we are still in Libya, we are now joined via Zoom by the ambassador of Morocco to South Africa to discuss extensively on these matters that pertain to Libya. Ambassador, good morning and a warm welcome to Galaxy Universal Network.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be in Galaxy TV network, and I would like to thank you to having choosing this very important topic today, Libya, which is one of the major security threats for North Africa, for Europe. And it has been, this situation has been now for a long time, and we need to move forward to find a solution to the Libyan crisis.
Definitely. What do you believe could be done to resolve the issues that have, been spinning in Libya for a very long time until today?
Yes. The big problem today is we have a lot of foreign intervention in Libya.
Yes.
And this foreign intervention, they are from everywhere, don't help the Libyan people to find a solution to their internal crisis.
Yes.
Let me say, the most important, at least from a Moroccan perspective, is to refrain from any foreign intervention. One, to leave the people or to help them find their solution. It is the solution would come from the Libyan societies.
Yes.
Today, unfortunately, because of this foreign intervention, because of this security threats, the Libyan society is divided. So today, we need to help them, to accompany them in their sovereign move towards finding a solution. And today, the image, I was impressed by the image I saw today. Now is the people, the young generation, men and women, that they've taken the future on their hands. And I think this is a very good signal.
Yeah, but during that time, during the time of the ousting of the former leader, Muammar Gaddafi, it was still the youth that also stood up and took arms and say Gaddafi must vacate his office, and subsequently he was then killed. At this point, what do you believe that could be, the force behind this? Because they were the ones that removed Gaddafi, and they are the ones now coming back again and crying of the crises that are happening in the country, which were actually, by frankly speaking, were not much of the case during the time when the former leader Gaddafi was in power. Ambassador?
Before answering, yes, a few years ago in Khairat, in Morocco, all the Libyan parties have gathered, and they have agreed on something which called the Khairat Agreement to be implemented. Unfortunately, because of the foreign intervention, because Libya had not the necessary tools. When I'm speaking about tools, I mean democratic parliament. So today, the country is divided. You have two parliaments, you have two governments, you have a solution. For today, what is important is how to move forward. How to move forward, I think there are some clear and fundamental parameters that have to be respected. One, the unity of Libya. Two, the respect of its independence and its territory. And three, negotiations on basis of compromise and reconciliation. Today, what is important, we need to reconciliate the Libyan, and this is a very important step towards solving the Libyan crisis. Because the problem is today, and we are in South Africa, that the Libyan crisis has impact not only in our region, I mean North Africa, but also in Europe, in the Sahel. And when there is this kind of vacuum, this kind of disorder, who benefit from this disorder and vacuum? The bad guys, the terrorist organization. And this is the main security threat for Europeans, for the people of the Maghreb. So today we need to solve this issue very urgently, because we cannot continue in this situation, because only the extremists will take the lead. When you create a vacuum, this is something very threatening for the security of the region. So what is important, we need to have everybody on board. But please, we have to leave the Libyan people decide on their future. What we can do, we as Africans, is how to put different factions to work together. Today there is a momentum. Today there is a momentum because the two parliaments are having some discussions. They have met only 2 weeks ago in Morocco. They are trying to see how because with the people on board to take their future on hand.
You are talking about that.
Was I clear about this issue?
Yes, you were clear. Even though our line is a little bit not too strong, we get to lose you somewhere. But you were talking about we need to, assist and be part of a solution that needs to be brought to Libya. And you also mentioned that there are other people, the bad guys that you labeled as bad guys, that are benefiting from the crises that are happening in Libya. Now, what is the role of the African Union and maybe the United Nations as well in getting themselves involved in physically, because talking, Ambassador, is another thing, but taking action. If you say we need to, but who those people that needs to do that, and what are the measures that need to be practically taken to resolve the matters, or at least intervene to the crisis taking place in Libya?
Thank you, Palesa, for this very important question.
It's Sisanda, by the way.
Sisanda, sorry, Sisanda. So, Sisanda, thank you for the question. Very, very important and key question. Listen, the UN has tried, but failed. We have the last special envoy of the UN, Hassan Salami, dismissed because he was not to implement the Khairat Agreement and the Berlin Agreement, So today what we need, we need the institutions. We need to have strong institutions in the country, because you cannot implement a policy if you have not a strong parliament,
Yes.
if you have no democracy, if you have no rules. So we need to have the package, but we need to leave the people, the Libyan people, decide for themselves. Because today you have a lot of intervention. Everybody is bringing a vision. Everybody is something, but this doesn't help. So today, what we need, in fact, is leave the Libyan people talk together, okay? Leave the Libyan people implement something, but the Schewat agreement is a good basis, but it has to be amended and take, because when we came to implement, we need the tools to implement the policy.
Yes.
And this will need time. African Union must accompany, not intervene. UN should not intervene. And today we have no special envoy, nothing. The people are divided. And don't forget also, Sisanda, that the Libyan society is based on tribes. And this sometimes makes more difficult to reach a consensus compromise. But the compromise and the consensus should only be based on democracy. You cannot impose. And one very, very important issue, Sisanda, is the proliferation of weapons in this country.
Yes.
Everybody has weapons. This has to demilitarize this, because everybody, and even foreign intervention, they're bringing the support through so on. And this makes the situation very complicated, as far as the impact on society. And the images you have shown today in your program, Sisanda, were really very, very impacting. I was impressed that this morning was I watching your program. I didn't I didn't thought that the young people and say we are fed up. Today there is an urgency, and we need to be on board to help them. To also, even for Morocco, for Algeria, the intercontinental Qaeda between Boko Haram, and these guys, they benefit from the chaos. And also another point you have to have in mind is that the former fighters, extremist fighters in Syria, are trying to regain the Libyan territory in order to harm the civilian population.
Yeah.
Well, Ambassador, you just spoke about the images that you saw from Galaxy about what's happening in Libya there. With your experience, would you maybe say that the people, or rather the youth in Libya, are now regretting what has happened before, when they actually outed and killed Gaddafi?
Yes,
would you say that maybe the youth is now, crying to what they used to have before, compared to what they have now, with all the protests that are happening in Libya right now?
No, I didn't hear because the whole question. But what I understand from you, that what I can assess is that today what is new is the Libyan youth is taking the lead, and this is important. They are fed up with foreign intervention. They are fed up with militia, because imagine everybody has a Kalashnikov in this country, so the problem of security. This is, I think, people, they want to say they are taking the lead to say they are fed up and they want a solution for themselves. This could be, if well managed, be a breakthrough to help the population to find a solution for the ongoing conflict in Libya.
Yeah. Now, Ambassador, since 2014, there have been about 20,000 migrants that have died on the coast trying to cross from Libya, going to Europe, looking for better living.
Yes.
Now, when we recall about a day or so ago, 22 more migrants were killed trying to make their way to Europe from Libya. They are running away, of course, from the militia attacks that are happening in the country. And Europe have been there all the time. They even go as far as putting, police officers on the coast to try and prevent immigrants from crossing. But there is not much resources that are being deployed to assist the people of Libya so that they can keep their country safe, so that they don't have to risk their lives trying to cross, because most of them even die while they are still trying to cross the country. Do you think that Europe is doing enough to assist the people of Libya from this crisis?
maybe I will not agree with you. I would always say we should not blame the others. We Africans should do our own homework internally to save our problems. Because, of course, migration, terrorism are threats for Europe, and they are trying to do. But we need to do our own homework first. So what is important about the situation in Libya is, as I was saying earlier, the connection between Maghreb, Mashrek, and Sahel.
Yes.
So all these, I call them the bad guys, they use this chaos, this vacuum, to promote terrorism, but also to promote illegal migration. They exploit migrants. So the political situation in Libya is linked to security, and that's why I said that when I was invited to your program, that military intervention, security interventions are important, but we need a political treatment to solve these issues. So the Libyan crisis, I agree with you, it has a security aspect, it has a military aspect, a migratory aspect, and it has a political aspect and a multidimensional. So if we could not help the people to reconcile in Libya, we are moving nowhere, because we have a lot of intervention. And you are right to ask this question. Europeans, they have Germans and Italians and French took the lead through the Berlin process. You have some countries of the Gulf. We have a country who was very much concerned about the security. Egypt is concerned because it has a border with Libya, and Egypt feels that it is security, and I agree, security matters for them. So they have to be careful about the situation. So we need to put all the stakeholders. And your previous question is essential. We need to have the UN on board. And unfortunately, until today, there is no personal envoy of UN Secretary General to Libya. Because I was involved with this issue for the last 10 years, when we hosted in Morocco the Schewat agreement. It was the only agreement agreed by the different political and parliament. We could not implement this on the ground, the agreement. Why? Because maybe we needed some more tools, and maybe we needed some instruments to be able to move forward. But today, it is a very security issue for all of us, for Africa, for the Maghreb, for the Europeans, and we need to act rapidly.
Now, Your Excellency, the issue of paramount importance here is the issue of all the access of weapons that are found in Libya that constantly displaces the citizens of Libya from their homes, and of course most of them losing their lives in the process. Now, we can keep saying, I mean, if we want to be factual about this, and who is funding these people? Because the people of Libya themselves do not have resources that they could be in a position to hold such long and ongoing wars that are happening in that country. There are international hands that are part and parcel of the crisis that are happening in Libya, and we cannot certainly turn a blind eye from that. So what is it that the African leaders, maybe the AU in particular, doing to try and root out the source of the crisis that are happening? Because if we have the weapons that are circulating within Libya, we must find the source of where all these things are happening so that we can be able to fight against that. We cannot resolve this problem from the top of it. What we need to do is to go down to the bottom of it and resolve it from there. So what's the stake of the AU in order to find the root cause of these crises and fight them from the beginning?
Well, the AU tried through Zoom meetings, but this is not enough. And you are talking about this issue of weapons. Yes, everybody is selling weapons to Libya, and this makes everybody, all the countries are selling weapons, and this really creates a very complicated situation. And you didn't also tackle another issue, which is a crucial one, is the oil of Libya. Where is the question you have to ask, who's today exploiting the oil of Libya, where it is going, and do you use these financial resources to buy weapons, to create more complicated issues? These are the issues that we should tackle, you know. And I know this is a very, very, very difficult and complicated and permanent issue to solve, is the oil and the weapons. So we need to have African Union more on board. We have to have the UN, but it is today in Africa. African is trying to Zoom conference, but we should have people on the ground today, on the ground, to help the Libyan people to reach a compromise. Because at the end of the day, what is important is which kind of compromise we will reach, and the respect of the territorial integrity and the unity of Libya. Because some people, you know, some options, thinking about dividing the country into, you know, this is not possible. This will create more problem. We should help the Libyan people to find their own solution on the basis of compromise. These two parameters I've told you before, and to bring stability, because Libya is a rich country, has a lot of oil, a lot of gas. It's well located. It is in the Mediterranean and Europe.
Yes.
And you know, you are from and and we have to stop what I call the roots, migration and terrorism. Because today the bad guys, if I might say that, they have a strategy from Mashrek to Maghreb to Sahel.
Yes.
You know? And so Sahel is today, you know, situation is very much complicated with the insecurity in many countries. So we cannot afford, we Africans, to have more instability in our region. This will hamper all our efforts of development. And we should not also forget, I'm sorry, but the role of women, which is important. We always forget the role of women in armed conflicts, difficulties they are suffering.
Yes.
And we need to show more support and more solidarity to these women which are trapped, and they're not for long years, they are not able to express themselves and to build up their own countries.
Yes. Now, recently, of course, the head of Libyan Presidential Council, Fayez al-Sarraj, has announced that they are forming an operation room for security and stability of Tripoli, and of course in other cities in coordination with different security forces. And they went on to say that they are tackling the issue of electricity, which is part of the reasons why the young people went out into the streets to fight. And they are working with the Reserve Bank, reportedly saying that they will now need the employees of the Reserve Bank to stay more in their offices to work and resolve these problems. Do you think this is a better step forward in fixing the crisis in this country?
Listen, to be frank with you, you cannot create wealth, you cannot create jobs, you cannot create or develop any economic programs if you have no stability and peace and peaceful coexistence between people. I think that we should tackle the real issue. Of course, the economy will help, but you cannot create jobs in a country with millions of weapons everywhere in every corner.
Yes.
The stability is essential, but also the reconciliation between different factions of the Libyan society. This will help. Of course, small actions, but you can do small actions, economic, but you have to address the real issues on the step today, which is security, unity, independence, and respect of the territorial integrity of Libya, and try to get rid of these weapons. This means you need to have a peace agreement, you need to have the elections, you need to have a parliament, you need to have a constitution. How can you implement a policy if you don't have a constitution?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is, I think, what we should start first with the agreement on ceasefire, demilitarization, and get the people themselves agree. There is a basis that it's a very good basis that has been agreed on Skhirat a few years ago. This must be implemented. You have also all the Berlin principles that can help, but we need to have all people on board, and we have to refrain from foreign intervention. You know how many countries are there in the country? So you just count them. The countries of the region, the countries of Europe, and Gulf, and so on. So this is complicated situation. So we need to help the Libyans to decide for themselves, because we need to accompany, support them in their national and sovereign endeavors. There is a momentum today. As I told you a few weeks ago in Morocco, came again the different parliaments, all of them, they came to
Ambassador?
try to resume. It's a good mission.
Yes. Maybe in closing, Ambassador, what's the way forward with this issue? As you mentioned before, that the African Union has been working quite very hard in intervening, or rather trying to resolve these issues in this country. But now it doesn't seem like there is, a physical action, except Zoom meetings and, that is being done. So what is the way forward on this issue?
Unfortunately, COVID didn't help, because everybody is in charge of internal problems, economic problems.
Yes.
The leaders of African Union can't meet. I think that I hope this COVID will be over, and we have to tackle this issue of security, because this could be also a good example for all African countries to avoid any future problems, and in our continent, because COVID will leave a very disastrous African country.
Yes.
The economies, we have to be very careful about the situation. Our health has been tackled. Our economy will suffer in the few years, and we need today, as Africans, to have good leadership. We have to have a vision and a real commitment to build up a safe Africa. And we have a big responsibility. Maybe today we are not aware, but our economies are very, very badly impacted. And you will see, we will have very, very, I don't want to be very pessimistic, but we will have to address the real issues in the future. And we cannot do this if we don't have a peaceful environment in the north, in the south of Africa. And we need to have really good leaders. And I don't know, this morning we were talking, I heard you were talking about good governance, about fight against corruption. I don't know, in your program, these must be the priorities, and we need to see and to really address the expectation of our young generation in the continent.
Yes, indeed, stability is one thing for sure that we need in order for us to be able to start and have a way forward. But we thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time, and thank you for having such a great impact on this issue of Libya. And I would like to believe that let us just keep a close eye, because today is the 4th day of the unrest that are happening in that country. We hope that you're going to see some developments.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm sorry I was not prepared for this interview.
No, you were well prepared. You're always prepared, Your Excellency.
Properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Ambassador Yousef Amrani, the ambassador of Morocco to South Africa, speaking to us with the crises that are happening in Libya. Palisa, Ambassador is bringing very important points on this issue.
Very important points indeed, saying that the AU must actually come together to help solve, what's happening there in Libya.
Yes.
And then Ambassador has also mentioned one important, fact that what's actually happening, in Libya, this should be a place where, our Africans now come together, not just, with Zoom meetings and all, but then they should actually come in together and advise, so that there should be unity and peace, amongst the youth, especially in Libya, because, the youth are actually the future of Libyans. So those are very important points indeed.
Having said that, it's time for us to take a very short commercial break. We'll be back with you with more news and updates right here on Galaxy Universal Network, Channel 500.
disturbance of brains.
So were you born with it?
Yeah, I was born with it. This thing, if I headache, and then you can't wake up.
ukuthi ngasakwazi ukuyilwela lento leyo ukuthi nga-end up ngisasemncane ngaqala ngabhema ogwayi and into bekumele ngingayenzi lento leyo.
It's not about not having jobs or us being lazy. We're willing to take the step, we're willing to push, but you need to have processes that actually help us instead of just killing us.
Let me tell my story.
The scourge of gender-based violence has hit a township in the city of Ekurhuleni. Toko Kubeka from Katlehong was murdered by her boyfriend on the 11th of July. Gender-based violence advocacy group #ActNow honored the deceased through the #Justice for Toko campaign.
I am not here as a saint, may I understand. I am here, I admit. But this is what mama, but I am here on behalf of all the men. So now I call upon again all the young people in Ghana, Mahrotman, Amauta, Bobaba, Nabomkulu, city pouncing at gender-based violence and only as a whole. Not only Katlehong, not only Phosphorus, not only Togoza, but in the whole entire continent, which is Africa. So yet now we advocate for anyone.
The organization communicated its wishes to have perpetrators sent to jail for their wrongdoings, as well as to have better policing in such cases.
We concerned men of South Africa, noting with utter disdain and disgust the atrocious mayhem of innocent lives of women and children in our country at the hands of men amongst us. Hereby come before you today, here at Somhorst Stadium grounds, in solidarity with families of victims of the departed and survivors, with one intention only, to act now and end this carnage. We share your sentiments that gender-based violence is another second pandemic that we have to confront and combat. We have introspected and further diagnosed a number of matters that require, amongst others,
Mukhaitsu, welcome back. You are watching us on Pan-African Morning News right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And the stories of gender-based violence in South Africa are rising on daily basis. Now we also have another story of a woman who was murdered by her boyfriend in Vosloorus, right here in the city of Ekurhuleni. And the sad part about the story is that this young man, a boyfriend of Ntombi Khona, has shot and killed Ntombi Khona, injured her sister and her mother as well. And it says it's under that, every day we are dealing with gender-based violence, and organizations are also coming together on a daily basis, but gender-based violence is still continuing in Johannesburg, in South Africa.
Yes, a very bubbly young woman, full of life, full of excitement about each and every day. I mean, she used to have a whole lot of visuals that she would take of herself, and a very, very self-motivated young woman, and her life was taken away by the person that she believed that was in love with her. Now, let's take a listen to what exactly has gone down.
48 hours, allegedly by men they knew. In Vosloorus, police are on the search for a man who allegedly shot and killed both his 21-year-old girlfriend and her mother yesterday. The young woman's sister was also wounded in that attack and was rushed to hospital. Meanwhile, in Tembisa Magistrates Court, a man is expected to appear in the dock today after he allegedly stabbed a woman to death. Neighbors found her crying baby in a pool of blood in her room on Monday. He handed himself over to police shortly after the crime. A 20-year-old woman was also raped and killed in the Dalimpofu informal settlement. This also took place on Monday. The suspect in that case was killed in an act of suspected mob justice. The police's Matapelo Peters.
The SAPS also needs to make their voice heard, calling for greater tolerance and restraint by men in general.
Yeah, a very unfortunate one there, very young woman, Palisa. But now we are joined by Scheme GP, a well-known activist against gender-based violence. And they have been, of course, fighting on this, and they are quite very visible in our societies on a daily basis. And unfortunately, they are only in Gauteng at the moment. And they do, though, voice out their frustrations on this matter. A very good morning and a warm welcome to you, Butemba. How are you doing?
Grace and peace, man. I'm good, thanks. And how are you?
Under circumstances, we must say that we are all right. But given the news that are surfacing of the death of Ntombi, what do you have that as a form of knowledge? Of course, this is a very, very fresh story. But what do you know so far about this issue?
Well, we had a few members of the family engaging with the team because we are a group of individuals who now said, no, man, enough is enough, and we want to take a stand, against this thing. And growing up in the township, as a typical township boy, I know what normally we go through. But we can't keep on making excuses. So that is why we ended up saying we need to act now. So our group is called Act Now. So when we got the message, today actually we are going to hook up with the family because we're just giving them a chance as a family, to gather their thoughts, and then so that when we go there, we don't impose ourselves, just to give them space to moan. But now, because this is a burning issue, unfortunately, it's a sad ending story because the perpetrator himself took his own life as well. So I would say they want, actually, it's really sad for the family because they would like to see justice, taking place, but there will be no justice in this case. But yeah, it's more of a trend. There's a wave. A ball of bad energy that's out there that I don't really understand because every day we are hearing of these bad news. Just yesterday, 5 women lost their lives, at the hands of these perpetrators. So we also this weekend are activating. Last weekend on Saturday we had a march, a peaceful march, but now with all the police stations around, because now we need to see police reforming. We are fighting for a police reform. Because these people, somebody gets arrested today, tomorrow is reintegrated.
Precisely.
And back in the society. The same person kills, they prey on these women.
Yes.
So we are on the ground this weekend. We are going to the Val. So we're visiting about 7 police stations again. And then we're visiting also the homes of the people who are survivors and the people also who are victims of gender-based violence.
Well, Temba, I'd like to know, right, what is the role of ACT Now, especially, during these campaigns that you guys are doing? And are you getting any support from the government or from organizations or private sector, with regards to the campaign or the movement ACT Now campaigns?
Yeah. If I may answer it this way, because I'm sure we've seen TV personalities, we've seen influencers, the likes of Fabo Sisbasi, also me, posting now and saying enough is enough. So now, this thing, it tells you that it's a second pandemic. It's not only an initiative of a region. So us as the ACT Now, we are saying we want to create that revolution, that traction, because there's one thing that I can assure you, all the cases that enjoyed attention or attraction from the society, community, and the media itself, because you are the guys who are playing a big role in this thing, in making sure that we're getting convictions. So when the case obviously is enjoying that attention from the media, definitely we will secure a conviction. So we are saying we want to make noise about it so that all the victims, who are, or all the survivors, they get the attention that they need. And also, we are forcing the men in blue to say, come on board, come into party, because you are always blamed for not being there on time, or for being in cahoots with the same perpetrator. So the best thing is you come with us as the X now and the powers that be. We go to the victims. We explain. Bring somebody who is a police officer on the matter. Let him explain to the perpetrator, to the victim, how far is my case doing? And then if ever this guy comes again, because there was a lady at Zonki's last week, she says, this guy, he has raped me, and then he went to prison, he came back, now he's carrying on. It's a double jeopardy. He keeps on raping me, this guy, and there's nothing that's been done. So we have to say the brigadier or the commander of the police station, he has to come and assure this lady and give him his 10 digits, so that if she sees anything, she could just call directly the investigating officer or the station commander. Then if now it happens beyond that, it simply means now we're going to have to obviously escalate and make sure that we get to the highest office. So we are engaging with all the ranks, we are engaging with all the parties, we are engaging with all the departments. So in social development, we are more like twisting their arms, because we have formed and forged a good working relationship as the X now. And we are saying to them, as people who are responsible for social crimes and things that are happening in the community, can you play your role? Can you be active? Because we are doing something that's called you in the shopping. We are doing talk shows. We are tired. We want to go to the perpetrators, we want to go to the victims and make sure that we strike a balance. And the guys, when you talk like to the young boys, you need to explain. And also, we're not only focusing on them, because other people, they are saying, this is more like a self-inflicted pain, where people, they don't behave. If you go into a party as a woman, what do you expect? You are going to Hurricane, you are going to Mocha Cafe, you don't even have a single cent. What do you expect is going to happen? Because you are going to be drinking people's money. The next thing, it's going to be a butter deal later, and it's going to be a spending story. So we are actually trying to strike a balance and create awareness about all the issues. We are not only tackling in their one part, we are about the femicide. So we're not supporting anything that says men. Now we are about women. Nothing about men. We will understand, we'll get there later, but now, for now, we are focusing on the femicide, because women are dying.
Well, Themba, this is happening yet again in the city of Ekurhuleni. And not so long ago, yourself and other prominent members in Ekurhuleni, Mzwandile Masina and Abo Pastanzo, you were all engaged in one, Zoom meeting about gender-based violence. What was the outcome of that meeting? And from that, Zoom meeting with all the mayor of Ekurhuleni, what came out, of it? What was the role of the mayor and prominent people as well, Abu Benjamin Dube and the rest of the other prominent people in Ekurhuleni? What was your role in that meeting?
Okay. Now, I'll start with, Pastor Tolanzo. Pastor Tolanzo, we know that he is actually chairing all the different faiths and denominations in Ekurhuleni. He's the last man standing when it comes to the pastors, the prophets, the bishop, and etc. So now his role was to say, we don't only need, the Bible says we don't only need, the man cannot live off bread alone, but we need that spiritual element. So he was saying, this thing is also in the spiritual realm. So we need to pray, about these issues, and also we need to pray for the victims, for them to find peace. Because somebody, if you are raped today, you live with that thing. When people ask you about that thing, you relive the past. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So now, the executive mayor himself, he has pledged his own time and said, because the lady that was on the Zoom as a victim, she said, this guy, he's very influential, one. Number two, this guy, I can put it on record on this Zoom, that he is friends with other people, maybe top-ranking officers. Some of them, they are also here present on this Zoom meeting. So this guy, he thinks he has that power, because I have made court orders and stuff, but he always comes back, and then he does as he pleases. And I've reported the matter. I am tired. I don't know what to do, Mr. Executive Mayor. So that's when he said, no, we'll go back to that very same police station, because you are saying the guys are not doing justice. So we'll make sure that we remove them and then we replace, and then we put the supervisors, superiors on the cases, and make sure that only high and top-ranking officers, depending on the matters, because there are matters that want your subordinates, but there are matters that want executives. If you are a celebrity, like yesterday we had a joint meeting with Tabo Moika Sisulu and Tabo Colin Mashawana as the executive of the act now. We were discussing about these issues, and then we decided that because some of the celebrities, they came forth, there's a sensitive issue, I won't mention names, but between two celebrities, now they are in court. So now they came to act now to say, can you please, guys, help us? So what we are saying is, this guy, if he is a perpetrator, at the end of the day, he's going to lose, gigs, he's going to lose endorsements, he's going to lose everything. So we want to make sure we could be able to strike a balance and they find the best possible solution or an amicable solution. When they part ways, at least there's peace in between. So as the mayor, in his own right, he has said, we will make sure. So we're going to check out on the development. And then two, they list out all the numbers. There are people who want shelters or homes. Sometimes you are a victim, but you don't know where to go. You go to police station, they say, okay, stay here. You'll stay 24 hours outside, police station. You don't know where to go. So we've got numbers for the shelters. We've got numbers for the psychologists. We've got numbers for the social workers. So there are people there who are specialists, who were roped in on that very same Zoom call to say, can you please now avail yourself and tell us your function in your component, in your own office, in your own area of specialty. What are you doing? So they were declaring, it's okay, this is what you are doing, this is what you are doing. Now, the picture is coming together in terms of the incubation. When somebody is facing a problem, when somebody has a challenge and something is happening now, then we are able to say, okay, this is the point of reference, because we are working with preventative measures, because prevention is better than cure.
Of course.
Every time you get there, we want to talk also to people before you get into something. Be able to understand what you're getting yourself into. Young boys, we speak to them. We are making seminars. So there's just quite a lot of work that now actually we are in. Every night, every day, we're having meetings, we're having calls, working each other, take the break.
Yeah.
And ladies, we have said to them in closing, please, when something is happening to this palace, please report the matter. Then next thing you drop the case. Now problem in Kulu, we are fast other women again. When the problem, the next thing, we have your drop the case. Then so then they move.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Temba, for your time. And we are definitely going to be catching up with you later on today to check, the progress of where you are coming from and where to from now. And as we said earlier on, it's unfortunate that the perpetrator has taken his own life and there would obviously be no justice that will be served. But thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was Temba Schema GP. He's one of the founders and leaders of Act Now Foundation. And now we have reached to the end of our morning show this morning, and we hope that you had a very informative one with us right here on Galaxy Universal Network. And please do continue to watch your Galaxy Universal programming as we continue to give you the news and latest updates until later in the night. So please do not go away. And at this moment, I would like to thank you from myself and the rest of our Pan-African morning team, from our production team, as well as our technical team at the back. I would like to wish you a very, very beautiful Thursday morning. Igama lami ke ngingusisanda unomusa kwaqwabe khutho. Intombazane yaphansi kwamhlabi yalingana umfule ngophuza ngiphuza ugelegele. Kanti inkomo zakhe ngayishiya zidla phansi emahlathini asekubandeni. Kanti ke zona ziphuze ebhodlweni umfulo ohamba ngeslow motion kwesikwazi bisigodi kulangibuya khona. Ngathola amabombo ke ngwabhekise egoli kwandonga ziyaduma kwanyama kayipheli kuphela amazinyo endoda. Kulapho ke we're broadcasting live. Would like you to wish you all the best until next time, Africa. Goodbye. Palisa.
Mogaetsi go tswa go nna Palesa kokomane ya ga sebolai di roba tlhakula tsa ga Mmasedi ya mphela tse di reng di a roba di a seli ga madisakwane ngingumnyamato uthwala umkhonto duma njengetulu umnyango uvala ngamakhanza amadzodza sengifikile ke nina baka mahlasela go tswa go nna salang sentle
bye yo